Welcome to episode 11 of Queen's Lariat Podcast. I'm your host, AJ, and today we're going to do a Wrestlemania wrap up. I'm going to talk and discuss the women's matches that happened on WrestleMania weekend for WWE. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with NXT Stand and Deliver, which took place on WrestleMania Saturday. The first match we saw was a women's fatal four-way elimination tag, which the winner became the number one contender to the women's tag championships. And the match was basically the Meta Girls, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan versus Fatal Influence, who were represented by JC Jane and Fallon Henley. So this was a pre-show match, so it was nothing really special about it. I thought it was a pretty good match, where you had Tatum and Gigi come out as the winners of this match, which I guess in the long run it really didn't matter. But I thought Gigi and Tatum really stood out, and they have very unique offense, and they have a very unique look for them. So I didn't mind them winning the match. I thought Roxanne and Cora was going to win the match, but I didn't mind Gigi and Tatum winning the match because I think um, the women's roster, especially that tag division, there's a lack of actual tag teams that have solid chemistry together. And I think eventually, whenever Tatum and Gigi are called up, and if they're called up as a tag team or in the stable, which fans are calling Chemical X with Shotzi Blackheart, I think they'll do pretty good in that women's tag team division if they are booked with, care. But yeah, it was a pretty solid match. Another thing I want to discuss from this match is the fact that Roxanne walked out on Cora during this match. And I don't know what they're doing with Roxanne right now, but they didn't follow up at all or allude to it at all on NXT Tuesday. Um so like I said, I don't know what's going on with Roxanne, whether she's getting called up or staying in NXT, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. They also alluded on Raw, a potential partnership or some kind of alliance between her and Julia, and she did actually bring that up on NXT, saying that she didn't know that Julia was going to be on Raw, but she could just be lying too. I would actually be. I'd be up for that tag team or alliance between Julia and Roxanne. And yes, I know they would have to do some explaining on why these two that had that feud and hated each other suddenly are in an alliance. But I think if they explain it the right way, it won't really matter. But we'll see. All right, the next match on the card, we had the women's ladder match for the NXT North American title. Now, several weeks ago, at the time, Stephanie Vaquer was the double champ, and she decided to vacate the women's North American title to give the other women on the NXT roster, a chance to fight for a title. So they did qualifying matches, and our field ended up being Sarah Ruka, Zaria, Izzy Dane, Kalani Jordan, and a returning Thea Hale. So I thought this match was a pretty solid, pretty good match. A couple takeaways for me is I feel like the match started off pretty slow, like everybody was getting their footing and, getting adjusted to the match. But towards the middle and the end of the match, it really picked up. It picked up with the action and the story beats. A couple things I want to point out is the part of the match where you had Zaria and Sol Ruka on top of the ladder, and they both were looking at each other and knowing what they had to do. Because in this type of match, there are no friends, there are no tag teams. So you had Zarya grab Sol Ruka's face, and Sol Ruka had some tears in her eyes, and they started going blow for blow with each other on top of that ladder, which ended with Sol Ruka knocking Zarya off the ladder. And then you had Sol Ruka on the ladder with Izzy Dame, where she ended up, I think she knocked Izzy Dame off and did a fantastic soul snatcher off the ladder to Izzy. And then she got right up and did a double soul snatcher to, I think, Thea and Kalani. And it was just amazing to see. I'm very happy to see Sol Ruka winning that title. She's deserved that title for a long time now. She's one of the most exciting wrestlers in ring. Very interesting to watch. Always very exciting to see. Um, I'm curious to see where this leaves her and Zarya's partnership and alliance. Also, I'm curious to see what happens with the rest of the women. And also, I think my MVP for this match was Izzy Dane. She took on the role of um the, you know, big wrestler, the taller wrestler, the muscle wrestler, the power wrestler in this match, which I thought a lot of those spots would have went to Zarya, but they went to Izzy, and she actually did pretty well in this match for herself. All right, so our next match from Stand and Deliver, and the final women's match from Stand and Deliver, was Stephanie Vacker versus Julia versus Jordan Grace versus Jada Parker in a fatal four-way for the NXT Women's title. This was one of my favorite matches for Mania weekend. All the women looked great in this match. All of them um got their moves and got their things in. The MVP for the matches for the match for me was Jordan Grace. I think she looked fantastic in his match, and Julia. Now, Julia was working more of a heel style in this match to go with her new persona. Now, we're not 100% sure if she's heel or face right now, but I like the way this character is going. She brought back a lot of her more heavy hits from Stardom, more heavy strikes from Stardom. Um, and I think she looked wonderful in this match. Stephanie, of course, always looked wonderful. She's one of the workhorses in WWE, regardless man or woman. Stephanie is very over with the fans right now. She's a fantastic in-ring wrestler, and I think it was the right move to have her retain her title here. She just got it. She only had one defense prior to this. I think there's a ton of storylines you can go with this and a ton of opponents she can go with this. So I think they should keep it on her for at least a little while longer. But I'm very curious to see what's next for Julia. All right. So going into Mania weekend, our first match of WrestleMania on night one on Saturday was um, Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Um, it was a short match, but I thought it was pretty good. I liked everything about it. I know a lot of people said that they think Naomi carried the match, which she did, but I think Jade Cargill did pretty well to this match too. And I think she has improved since the last time we saw her before um she got put through the windshield by Naomi. I think she's improved a lot, and it was a fantastic match. One spot that really got me going was, I think it was the electric chair Jade did into a power bomb to Naomi that went into the Jaded and the pin for Jade Cargill. Excuse me, I'm trying to not say Cora Jade while talking about Jade Cargill, but yeah, it was a fantastic match. I like Naomi's new presentation. I actually like the new theme song. She looked badass, but I just hope that they can put Naomi in a feud that really showcases her new character going into after Mania. But yeah, thumbs up for me for this match. Pretty good match. So the next match we had for WrestleMania Saturday was Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. Now, I wasn't really impressed by this match because I know specifically from Charlotte that she can do way better than what she did in this match. And it wasn't like it was any botches or anything particularly bad about this match. I just like, I I wasn't into this match from the build. And then I think the match was underwhelming as well. I'm not a huge fan of Tiffany's. I guess she did okay in the match, but it just was underwhelming to me. And of course, Tiffany ended up retaining. And like I said, like her or not, I do agree with the fact with building new and younger stars within with Tiffany. Is going to be I can't wait to see what's next for Charlotte and Tiffany, but that was basically my thoughts on that match. All right, so going into WrestleMania Sunday, we had the opening match of Io Sky versus Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. This match was probably my other favorite match of the weekend. It was a fantastic match. All three women got to display what type of wrestlers they were and their strengths in this match. Now, a couple things that I want to point out during this match was I think you had Io reverse the riptide off the top rope into I forgot what kind of move it was, but it looked good. And then you had Io celebrating after I think doing a drop kick to Rhea, and out of camera you just see Bianca hit Io with this huge pounce. And I also want to point out Bianca Belair's entrance where she had her stepdaughter out there with her, and she had like a whole double dutch setup, which was pretty darn cool. I think the right woman won. I think Io winning was the right call here because I think I've always said this, that I think Io should be put in the same light and looked at in the same light as Rhea and Bianca. And I think this feud plus her winning at Mania does a great job of getting to that. Like, I think Io is a spectacular wrestler, and I know people wanted to see Rhea versus Bianca, but that match is eventually going to happen. But I'm just glad Io got the shine she deserved with her parents, and also there were a lot of the Stardom girls in the crowd too. So I'm glad she got to show out, and she looked amazing in that match. So our final match of WrestleMania weekend, it was supposed to be Lyra Valkyrie and Bayley versus Liv Morgan and Raquel. But as we know, on the pre-show of WrestleMania Saturday, Bayley got taken out by someone. We don't know who yet. And was replaced by Becky Lynch. Now, the thing I want to say about this match is Becky Lynch is one of my favorite wrestlers, so I was happy to see her back. But I don't think it should have been at the cost of such an amazing wrestler in Bayley. Like, Bayley is one of the workhorses of this women's division. And to see her get taken out like that, it brings back memories to when Asuka and Sonya Deville got taken off the card during that women's main event of Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte. Like, it's just sad to see these kind of moments. I feel for Bayley because, you know, she always wants to be a part of Mania. Who doesn't? But like I said, the match itself was okay. It was all right. Like I said, I was happy to see Becky back. I didn't really agree with the point of Lyra and Becky winning only to lose it on Raw and do the heel turn. Like, they could have did the heel turn at Mania, or they could have did the heel turn without Becky being involved in the match. But it was all right. You know, Liv and Raquel won the titles back on Monday Night Raw and then retained on NXT. So we'll see what's next for them. They're keeping Liv busy and they're keeping her active and giving her stuff to do, which is good to see. But that was my thoughts on that match. And that was my thoughts on Mania weekend. I would like to say, yeah, while there were great moments and great matches, I feel like it was kind of underwhelming to me. And the whole vibe of Mania was kind of negative to me as opposed to last year where it was a positive vibe throughout the whole Mania weekend. It was points and times in Mania weekend where a lot of stuff that was said and done didn't really sit right with me. I don't think WWE did itself a favor either with their responses to some of the stuff, but we'll see. But thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. Please subscribe and listen on YouTube. I'm out. Thank you.